Why we are upset one day and happy the other day on the same event, with the same guy, with the same object. Crazy, I don't like it. Oh, I bought it, so I liked it. Yes. Honey, you don't understand. And the other day, okay, you do whatever you want to do. There seems to be some unknown factor. So and what is the second?
How am I upset one day with people, place, possession?
Yeah.
Happy the other
And
day.
the third question?
Why my worries in time then escapes to something else for pleasure?
Yes, this is also important. You get upset with the phone and suddenly you have some first, the trigger happens in the mind. Oh, let me, first take a cup of tea, and you forget it. And once you return again, there is nothing. You see that?
Yeah.
So these couple of questions. And what is the next question?
Why and how the mind lives in fear, doubt, pleasure and pain, and alternate them.
Yes. So first answer we get, I'm upset with the honey one day, happy with the other. I'm upset with something and the other day I'm happy. So that leads to confusion in the mind. And sometimes what happens, you say to your honey, why don't you do it? And the honey looks at you with an anger. So the mind also creates a kind of a fear. The mind says, I have to withdraw. This is not the way. This is not the right way. So there is a fear, there is a doubt, there is a confusion, there is a pain, and there is a pleasure. We are going slowly. If you go very fast, then...
No, I understand that because I'm very confident in what I do. I'm the person that I've become. But at the same time, sometimes I have doubts. Am I doing it right?
Am I doing
it
right? Yes. Am I doing right? And then there is a doubt, there is a fear. And more or less with the same thought, there is also a pleasure. Because sometimes my anger gets a response of a pleasure. Why are you doing this like this? And honey says, calm down. You see that? So there is a lot of confusion, doubt, fear. They are the source of anxiety. They are the source of, what should I teach? How should I educate? If I have those thoughts in the mind while communicating with you, you will realize this guy is already into anxiety. Better say goodbye. Goodbye to him. What is the next question?
Why and how mind says, I'm worried, stressed, and frustrated.
Yes. So pay attention. So these are first few questions are the big questions, and the answers comes in the later questions. I'm happy. Who says mind? I'm stressed. Who says mind? I'm worried. Who says mind? I'm in fear. Who says mind? But I'm not the mind. Why to worry? Why to worry? But again, and the next question is?
What is the impurity of mind?
What is the impurity of the mind? Once you get a feel of it, once you are aware of it, fearlessness. So first understand, I know Claudia is sitting before me, There is a space studio. We decided to meet at 7. This is my knowledge of the senses. I get the knowledge from the sense organs. It is physical, it is material, that is why it is known as a gross knowledge. Subtler than this physical knowledge is the mental and the intellectual knowledge. From there you claim, I normally do everything right. I know that I'm right. I act rightly. So why it is known as subtle? Because it cannot be seen, it cannot be perceived by the physical sense organs. So it's not a big deal that I can read the thoughts of others. It's not a big deal because it is in the physical field, because mind is too much obsessed with the physical knowledge, so it does not see what is happening in the mind. Clear? That is one answer. Now question again. First 5 or 6 questions comes up again. Why I am upset today and happy the other day? On the same event, with the same guy. And then intellect rationalizes. Oh, today you are behaving rightly, that's why, I'm also good with you. But that is a stretching. That is not the real answer.
You don't think that having a good day and then the very next having a bad day could also be caused by
having a good mind and a bad mind? Okay. That is the reason.
You don't think that could be caused by
outside factors?
Chemicals in the brain?
Chemicals are outside myself. First I exist and then the brain exists. First there is an awareness, then the brain. Brain is a grey matter. Brain is matter. Brain is like a cell phone. Brain is like a cell phone. Science has to answer from the brain because science starts from the matter. The moment the science stops researching the objective reality and it does not start its journey from the matter, the science will no longer exist. That is a kind of an obsession. So I'm answering and I'm deviating a little bit so that to make you clear, because it as a doctor, so you can ask him. There is a big statement, I think, therefore I am. Is this statement correct? I am, therefore I think. I exist, then I think. So when I exist, and then there is a brain and a mind that works and makes a statement, I exist. I exist, therefore I am. Every thought, every feeling and the sensation is a combination of the brain and the mind. But one thing is very clear, I'm not the brain and I'm not the mind.
Okay.
And the second statement, you have driven the car and reached here. So brain has to work, the mind has to work. The brain must be in order. But that chemical in the brain is known as neurotransmitter. So in India, one of my colleagues, we used to do the research, and he was extremely intelligent. He is in Texas now. He says, why don't you understand that neurotransmitter is a chemical? When it jumps from one neuron to the other the thought happens. I'm taking you very deep into that scientific understanding. So now question comes, is that chemical a thought? Biochemist says yes. Okay. So you have a thought of anxiety? That is one chemical? And you have a thought of happiness? That is another chemical? No, it is only the neurotransmitter. So how one chemical is a bad thought and how the same chemical at other time is a good thought? Answer me.
That's a good question.
No, I know you are intelligent, so now having said that, now take up physical knowledge. I know, or if I don't know, Claudia, I can know it. Mental, structure of thought, feeling, sensation, the subtle. Now our Eastern wisdom says, you have a gross material knowledge, you have a subtle knowledge that cannot be perceived by the sense organs. That is why it is known as subtle. Not a bit. But subtler than this subtle knowledge is behind the mind. We cannot know it. It is unknown. You cannot know it through the mind, you cannot know it through the intellect, but you know its impact, you know its effect. And that subtler is nothing but the impressions since our childhood in the current birth, and then the masters also say that not only from the current birth, but from many births. So even if you leave from the previous birth, it is all the accumulations of those impressions. They want to relive. So there is a trigger. It enters into the mind as an effect. I'm upset, effect. I'm happy, effect. I'm confused, effect. So now see that morning, every morning is the same. Now tell me, every morning is the same. But the effect says, today is a good morning and yesterday was a bad morning. See that? Now apply this to your honey. Today you seem to be very good and wise. The impact of the past impression enters into the mind, and then the mind gives the interpretation. Honey, today you are good. Ask from the perspective of honey. I'm always the same.
Yeah.
That's your opinion. Do you see that?
Yes.
I'm just making a very logical to make you understand this part.
I get it now. I understand this.
So now you say that I'm anxious. Not me, it is coming from the subtler impression. Come on, I don't accept you. Finished. First and the last session today. Then you are already free.
But what if you do something wrong? Should you not feel guilty about
wrong? Again, that very wrong comes from the wrong perception. And that wrong perception is an effect of the subtler impression. So the goal should be to purify the mind. Yes, rather than going outside. Going outside and stretching. Oh yes, yesterday, honey, I was upset at my office. That's why I became angry. I'm extremely sorry. You are creating another impression, subtler than the mind. We should say it, but we should say it with awareness, and we make it a resolve that I will not be dictated by these impressions when it enters into the mind.
But what if you were the one who did something wrong?
Yes, that happens in the mind that I have done something wrong. Become aware, move to the right perception, and see what is the situation. You need to say sorry, but in a sense of freedom inside. When you say sorry, it should bring a freedom in you. It should not create a scar and another impression.
Okay.
So that you are not accumulating, you are not creating another impression of anxiety and the stress. So first thing again, this takes time. It cannot happen in a day. You wake up in the morning, mind says bad morning. You recall, behind the mind, accumulated impression, it has triggered an impact in the mind, and that has created this thought, this is a bad morning, let me look at it again. Can the morning be bad or good? The answer, we know it. We have a smile on the face. Do you see that?
Yes.
How easy it is. But those past impressions, subtler than the mental impressions, subtler than the mental knowledge, is created by the 8 factors. So I have to keep remembering those 8 factors also. Do you remember object and attachment and desire and confusion and loss of memory and the loss of intelligence and the delusion? That is why morning is bad. That is why the morning is bad. So it goes through all the 7 steps and expressed at the 8th is known by the mind. The morning is bad, my honey is good today, not bad yesterday, was bad yesterday, bad morning yesterday, good morning today. I hope everything will be good in the future. Nothing is going to be good or bad in the future. It all depends on those storehouse of the memory bank. Memory bank, you can add genetical factors, you can add inherited factors, and you can add also chemicals. But mind is the problem. Purified mind is not a problem. So what impurities manifest in the mind? How impurities manifest in the mind? I have already answered that. You see that at any point of time, during the last 11 sessions, so today is during the last 11 sessions, your mind might have been swinging like a pendulum. I like this practice, but I'm not getting an answer. I will leave this guy. No. Again, let me do it. Let me continue. So the focus of the mind is not on the challenges we have. Focus on the mind while driving is not on the driving, but thinking about the honey past impression. or something else. I'm just giving an example. Yes. So this is what is the purity of the mind, and you will be amazed and surprised. It will give you a shock also. That is the beautiful principle. Every master, we have 3,000 masters, we have 3,000 texts. They all declare in one principle that this mind is 90% naturally in peace, happiness, love and wisdom. It is the 10% from the past impression and its impact that happens in the mind causes all the problem. You leave the mind, do nothing, no thinking, no thought. So what happens? Mind is not natural. Mind is aware of the room in the studio. Past impression. Studio is very good, I'm already a professional, so let me also have a studio. See, very personal example. Very personal. I'm triggering your mind. Claudia is beautiful. Appreciate. That much is okay. But if the past impression triggers with the beauty, what will happen? My mind is gone. See that? So that is happening all the time. So what is the purity of the mind? 90% is natural. Let me see Claudia as a Claudia, as a woman. Finished. So when I see it, I appreciate it, and my mind experiences the freedom. Now see if there is any one of the 8 factors, attachment, how my mind will behave. It is polluted, it is impure. Did you understand that?
Yeah, I get it.
Yes, you get it. So what are the 3 levels of the perception? Again, I'm repeating those questions to make you understand. Physical perception. I know Claudia is here and you are here. Space, studio, physical knowledge, mental knowledge. And behind that mental knowledge, we say, another word, reservoir of karma. Whatever the actions we have performed, consciously, habitually, unconsciously, consciously, everything is there. Everything is already there. And it is constantly triggering its impact on the mind. That is how it shapes our personality and our attitude, our thoughts. I am depressed. Come on, it is only a thought. I don't care you. It is only a thought. Gone. See that?
That's hard for me to do.
Huh?
It's hard for me to do that.
That is where we are going. We are moving here slowly. You have moved too far. So it is hard. That is also coming from the past impression. No, I cannot make understand those who are not. But you see that? That thought is also coming from the past. Come on, thought. I reject both the thoughts. I am stressed, but it is very hard to do it. I reject also. Why? Because this is also a thought. And the mind returns to its natural state of 90% of purity. Yes, how impurity hides the self, that is another principle. Physical knowledge, mental knowledge, subtler than the mental, it is unknown, but it is known by the impact it has on the mind, and behind that subtler is our self. The real self of the nature of truth, peace, happiness. Yes, if you want to understand, we cannot understand through the science, but even if you want to understand through the science, we say it is pure consciousness. Simply says the self is pure consciousness. Give me an example.
Of what?
No.
Oh.
Your mind may ask, give me an example when you say it is pure consciousness. In the field of awareness, I recognize that I am in anxiety. Right? Does that thought pollute the awareness? Awareness remains the same. It remains the neutral. Every time you come to this studio, you are aware of the studio, but awareness is not polluted. Awareness is not contaminated. Awareness remains awareness. Awareness remains awareness, whether you are stressed, whether you are full of pleasure, you are happiness, you have $1 billion, or you have a penny. Awareness is not polluted.
So you recognize it, but the fact that you recognizing it doesn't affect your state.
Yes, and that consciousness in the purest state, not affected by the subtler impressions, not dictated by the mind, not governed by the body, is me. Physical, mental, subtler than the mental past impressions, and the self. This self is not polluted at all. It remains pure as there was a great criminal 3,000 years ago who existed, who used to cut the fingers to those people who killed. And he has killed thousands of the people. And the Buddha was passing by. There's a story, the Buddha was passing by. Are you not scared of me? Why should I be scared of you? I have killed thousands of people. Why? To feed my family. The Buddha said, go to your family and ask them that, can they take all your sins of killing 1,000 people? That was a trigger. You create a trigger, or we teachers create a trigger in your mind, but you have to evolve yourself. I'm not giving you anything. I'm charging you money for doing nothing. So I'm very clear. So you have to change yourself. He went to the family. Mahani said, no, I'm not going to take except the sin of killing your people. That is your son. No. He came back and he started crying. He said, come, sit down. So those impressions are entering into the mind, and it is constantly pushing you with a wrong perception, with a wrong understanding that you are feeding people by doing something wrong. So you need not to repent on it, you need to change it. So from there the word, phrase, the proverb comes, know thyself. Buddha says, simply know thyself. Going back, we pick up one more questions, and then we will go for the practice. We'll take this more. How impurity hides the self? How impurity leads to distraction and mental challenges? Now see that. My mind, subtler than the mind, it is known as reservoir of the karma. It is constantly putting its impact into the mind. I'm stressed. So how can I go to the office? Another impression. Oh, I cannot work rightly. So let me calm down. Let me take a cup of coffee. So it is creating all those impressions, and the 90% of the natural state of the mind is already gone. It is hiding. And then you say, I'm in anxiety. I cannot do it just now. Come on, all these thoughts and the feeling and the sensations are coming from some unknown source. I cannot be in anxiety. I cannot be in stress. Or you can say it scientifically, that chemical is not there, how can I be stressed? Or it is the same chemical. Ask your dad. So, is the chemical different in the brain? Because these scientists and these very thoughtful doctors, they will take your mind away. No, it is the stress chemical. No, tell me what chemical is present in the brain. Is the same chemical responsible for a bad or a good thought? So I attended a lot of medical conferences. There in India, I was a researcher with a team. So I used to ask those stupid questions, and they didn't have an answer. Because science complements these principles. So deeper understanding of the science helps you that subjective reality is the main thing. Objective reality may play a little role, but ultimately when you discover the self, the true nature, the pure consciousness, there is a sense of freedom from the fear, the doubt, anxiety, and these stress are small things. So this is the first part. We'll pick up the second part. Let us